think that the point has to be made that labor is right. Labor actually constitutes the very microcosm of the bigger economy. And so it is not the case that the macroeconomic indicators of the country is just depleting away and labor's life will be better. I think that point has to be made. And so if the economy is not doing well, it's obvious households are not doing well. And labor is a very important arm of every nation when we want to develop. Now, it is important to state that in determining the salaries and wages of labor, it should and it ought to be pegged with inflation. And in our country, the steep depreciation of the cedi and the standard of living. I have heard government communicators and people in the labor space who are pro-employer say that we have to look at both sides, that the government does not have money to pay what labor is demanding. I think that
is fact.
I don't think so, because you see, the optics do not support this. I cannot assume that that will be factual. When you look at how government officials are going about their daily lives, and even if you look at the 2023 budget, and I'll come there, you cannot tell labor that the least of you should be earning 178 cedis when you have government officials flying to Qatar to watch the football match at the expense of labor. And so labor will say that, oh, if there is any jet to fly, we also want to be in a position to go to Qatar and watch the football match. Because sometimes the data is as important as the optics. Now, if you look at the government of Ghana allocation for 2023 in the budget, the government has earmarked to pay 44.99 billion as compensation.
Yes.
And then when it comes to interest payments, the government is doing 52.55. What it means is that this government has recklessly managed the economy so much that the monies which go into payment of interest is more than what it is allotting or has allocated for labor, at a time when we are being told that inflation is 40.4%. And so if, from the data you showed on the screen, if anybody in the public sector was earning 4,324, which is supposed to be the highest of the earning, if you do a 40.4% depreciation of that amount, technically the person is going home with just about 3,000 or less. And so they would demand that. But one would have thought that governments will make all these, or governments will make the situation such that many would empathize and say that labor, hold your breath, but it's not doing so. This is a government that is telling us that we are so broke, and as a result, I have to increase VAT from 12.5% to 15%. And it is going to have a cascading effect. And so if you look at a 21% increase, labor will be part of those who are buying these goods and services. And so given the depreciation of 40.4, they cannot add an additional 21% to it at the same interest. So that's why they're asking for 65.
I remember what has happened to e-levy too.
So I'll come there. And if you look at, despite all these, one would have thought that the government will say, oh, I'm bringing some austere measures so that labor and ourselves can share. The government has increased its expenditure by 51%. In the 2020 budget, the government budgeted to spend 137 billion. In the 2023 budget, as we speak, the government is spending 205 billion. So if you have increased government expenditure by 51%, without showing where those increases will go or how they will impact on labor directly, which is supposed to be one of the arms of taking chunk of government expenditure, then labor will be asking all these questions, because on the part of government, there is no prudence. One would say that the government has come out to announce some austere measures to show that, oh, labor, you are not in this alone. But Samson, those measures were announced as far back as this year, March, and there were no implementations. Those measures have been repeated. So it becomes difficult to even tell labor that to hold on, because the government, which is the employer, is not showing any sign that we cannot afford the 65%.